Hello and welcome to Odds on Serie A Matchday 23, the match day, the weekend to analyze the Derby d'Italia, Inter-Juve. Dani, after a previous weekend when we thought Inter might drop points and we were quite sure that Juve were going to win, well, none of these things happened.
Actually, it happened the opposite. Juventus dropped 2 points against Empoli and Inter grinned out a results against Fiorentina. So now is Inter +1 on Juve with a game in hand. And here comes the Derby d'Italia in a perfect moment of the season without the Champions League, a full week to rest. Italy, biggest rivalry, Italy's biggest game. Well, bring it on.
Well, this is what Italians call, Dani, partita scudetto. So the
Totally.
game that can define the championship, especially if Inter win the game. Well, guys, let me know in the comments who are you backing, Inter or Juve, and of course support us. Press the like, subscribe. Let's go on with the show. And Danny, this match day starts on Friday with Lecce Fiorentina. Fiorentina was the one losing to Inter in the Serie A. They had a lot of chances, even a penalty, but they couldn't win. They are winless in the last 3 Serie A games. It's a bad start of the year because they also lost in the Super Cup. Their only recent victory was in the Cup in the penalties against Bologna, but Lecce, they are no better, Dani. So that's why, of course, Fiorentina with more quality, they are favorites to win this game.
And it was disappointing from Fiorentina. They always kind of seem to produce the same game against top opposition. They had the ball a lot. They had the ball a lot against Inter, so against Napoli in the Super Cup. But then they can't quite capitalize. Well, of course, they missed a penalty with Nico Gonzalez, but they produce so much, a lot of crosses, a lot of half chances, but something wasn't right. And this, I think, is the pitfall of Fiorentina. They tend to play with a very high line. They let themselves very exposed. Inter had the chances maybe to score the second goal. But then up front, when you see Beltran and Zola playing together, 2 number 9s, they don't quite work well together. They don't pass the ball to each other. So I'm not sure that's the way to go. I don't understand why Bonaventura played on the left-hand side. He would have been better perhaps in a more central position. Of course, the return of Nico Gonzalez now from the first minute should be a boost for Fiorentina, but they only scored 6 goals in the last 9 games. But Lecce, again, losing a game after taking the lead. They've already lost 14 points from an advantage position. Only Salernitana and Udinese have done worse. So it is a team that's got the basic rights. I think the idea, the structure of Lecce is right. What they lack is a little bit of quality and a little bit of consistency, really. No clean sheet in 17 games, no win in the last 6 for Lecce. Now they got the 3rd worst attack of Serie A, and they sold a good player to Serie B, to Como, Strefezza. I don't quite understand why. I think they wouldn't need him. Okay, they got the likes of Sansone, Piccoli, but I think Strefezza last season was the top scorer. Why selling him? They missed a lot of chances against Genoa after going 1-0. They missed the penalty when the game was still 0-0. At home, normally, they are decent. They only lost 1 of the last 5, and that was a 3-0 defeat against Juve, but the first half was good. But if you look at Lecce, they got the biggest expected goal against positive difference. So that means they should have conceded 11 goals more. That's an enormity that tells you they spend a lot of time defending their own box. Vladimiro Falcone has been one of the best goalkeepers in Serie A. Based on that expected goal against metrics, they should be penultimate in the table. So they are really, really risking it. But as I said, at home, they are solid. They play well. I'm going to go for both to score 197. I think Fiorentina are going to score at least a couple, but, you know, they often leave themselves exposed. Both to score 197, Lecce, Fiorentina.
Well, Lecce 3 points away from the relegation, 4 points away from Empoli. For instance, Empoli playing at home against Genoa and getting a lot of points. Lately, very positive impact from the new manager with the draw that no one expected Against Juve, also the home victory against Monza. We might be tempted, Danny, to back Empoli somehow, but also Genoa, they are in really good form. It's 7 undefeated games after the win against Lecce.
Yes, 6 of those games for Genoa have been both teams to score, so they do score goals, but they also tend to concede. As I mentioned, Martinez is a good goalkeeper, a Spanish goalkeeper. I mean, probably one of the revelation of this season. Saved the penalty against Kristovic, but they're a team that never gives up, Genoa, and they've recovered 11 points this season from a losing position, more than anyone else. Great character is still by Gilardino, a former World Cup champion. You can tell it is a team that is really, really well drilled. And, you know, when you got up front, the likes of Gudmundsson, who's doing well, Retegui, back on the score sheet, also gave an assist, Ekuban, popping in with a couple of goals. We're still waiting to see the best of Messias. Malinowski is playing more regularly. I think the best is yet to come for Genoa. They will be fine. They will be saved this season, for sure. Empoli, as I mentioned, you know, the specialist in salvation, the Davide Nicola, hire him and you do have a chance. 4 games, 2 games, 4 points. He is the guy you say Salernitana a couple of seasons ago when they seemed completely doomed. But against Juve, I wonder if Empoli is going to have more regrets, because Juventus played with 10 men for almost 75 minutes after Milik was sent off, and Empoli ended with more shots and more possession from Juve, and then they conceded a stupid goal from a corner. They are much more compact with a back 3. They play, which basically sometimes becomes a back 5. Luperto, the center defender, is playing really, really well, also pushing on, helping to build the play. But then they got one of my favorite players, who's Baldanzi, scored against Juve. He's not my favorite player because he scored against Juve. He used to be one of my favorite players even before. He's very unique. He's a number 10, a diminutive player, takes people on, something that we haven't seen a lot in Serie A this season. Look, if he plays regularly, I think Empoli have more than a chance. Not many teams in the bottom half of Serie A have got a player like him. But having said that, beating Genoa is going to be hard for Empoli, a young side that, as I said, often concede silly goals, if you like. Asian handicap 0 for Genoa, 186. Probably a draw. Nicola's going to get a lot of draws, I feel. But, you know, you can't overlook Genoa better quality at the moment. If they draw, money back.
Very high odds for this game because the bookies could expect the draw. And also for the relegation battle, we have Udinese, Monza. We can see also here really high odds, but Udinese as favorites, they have the same points as Cagliari, so they are risking to go to the relegation zone. They lost to Atalanta and to Milan in the last 2 games. It's only 1 point in the last 4. Monza, Danny, they beat Sassuolo. It was a key game, so they are not dragged into this relegation battle. How do you see this game? I don't know if there is a ban on the Udinese stadium, Danny, after the...
That's correct. Udinese Stadium is going to be closed for 1 match day after the racist chance against Mike Maignan, and I think is the right punishment. In Italy, they say, no, it's a bit too much. You punish everyone. Well, everyone should be punished, really, because people have to feel the effect of what a bunch of racists have done. Yes, the team should suffer it, and also, unfortunately, even the other supporters, even the decent people of Udine, unfortunately, should suffer. Maybe this will help change the culture, of course, alongside severe punishments for those who have done this racist chance. This should be banned for life. But, you know, this is another matter. So I think it's right that Udinese plays behind closed door. And when we talk about Udinese, just 1 point above Empoli, level with Cagliari and Verona, it is a team that risks to do what Sampdoria did last season, not built for fighting for relegation. They find themselves in the relegation scrap and they can't react. All these players probably not used to fight for that target. Only 1 clean sheet in the last 11. Only won 2 games in the entire season, and we are at match day 23. How bad is that? And both wins have been 2-0, 1-0 in Milano against Milan, 3-0 against Bologna. So if they concede, they never win. And I think they're going to concede here. Now, Monza, 28 points. This is going to be really interesting from now on, and also very tricky for anyone who wants to put some bet on Monza. Monza are basically saved, because with 28 points, you need 3, 4, 5 points more, you will be saved. So they're done. They're there. Can they push to a European qualification this season? I don't think so, although they strengthened the squad recently with Juric and Zerbin. They're not going to get relegated. So what kind of games are we going to see? We're going to see games with a lot of goals. Well, they haven't scored many goals recently. They've been scoreless in 4 out of the last 7 and only scored in 2 occasions against Inter and Sassuolo. They only had 1 shot on target against Sassuolo, and their top goal scorer is Colpani, who scored 7 goals so far, is a midfielder. But, in the second half, they limited Sassuolo a lot. Sassuolo didn't have a shot, and the return of the goalkeeper, Di Gregorio, is very important. He's been the best goalkeeper in Serie A, also the one who has made the most saves. I'm going to go for both to score 178 because I think Udinese at home have scored many goals lately, but they do have an habit to concede. And I think, Monza will probably play with a little bit more freedom, nothing to play for. It could be an entertaining one, both teams to score 178.
Next game, Danny, Frosinone, Milan. Frosinone quite strong when they are playing at home, only 3 defeats this season. They are coming from a draw against Verona and a victory against Cagliari. That's why they are 5 points above relegation, whereas Milan, Danny, dropped points when they had the victory against Bologna. I guess they said goodbye if they had hopes for the title. I don't think they were in the title race. They should be focused in the Europa League now that it's coming in a couple of weeks. How do you see this one?
Well, I think now Milan have got a very healthy lead on the team on the 4th and 5th place. It will be reasonable for them to focus on the playoff against Rennes, which is coming fairly quickly on the 15th of February. So yes, maybe if they rest a couple of players, if they rotate them from now and then, it will be a good idea. Look, they got one thing in common, Frosinone and Milan, is goals. Milan is the team who's been involved in more games with more than 3 goals scored. I think 9 of them so far. And, the last 2 games have been over 3.5 goals. They have scored an awful lot of goals recently. The both team to score has happened in the last 6 of the last 9, I think. But yes, this is a team that has got a lot of goal scorers, the likes of Loftus-Cheek, Giroud, to a degree, also Leao, Theo Hernandez. They missed 2 penalties against Bologna, but he's also a team that often struggles to control the slow tempo of the games. Unless they got the back against the wall, Milan, they need to go for it. They can't quite slow down, and that's why they concede silly goals, silly equalizers. Sometimes they switch off. But when it comes to Frosinone, it is the team that has kept only 2 clean sheets. Over 68% or 70% of their games have been over 2.5 goals. They only fail to score 4 times this season against Udinese, Torino, Roma, Inter, and Atalanta 5 times, but normally they do score at home. There's only been 1-0. So it really screams goals this game. There've been a lot of chances there'll be a lot of chances for both teams, and I think it's gonna be an over 3 goals, 2-13. So that means if there are only 3 goals in the game, you get your money back. But I'm pretty sure Milan probably gonna win this one. They'll have to sweat for it, okay? They'll have to sweat. I think the likes of Sule, Caio George, Barenechea, they'll put the Milan back line in trouble. But eventually, maybe Milan might win it, a similar game to the one with the Udine, maybe 3-1 or 2-1, in which case you will get your money.
All right, or against Salernitana, I think they also suffered to get
2-2, yeah,
to get something from it. And on Frosinone, especially when they play at home, they are a team hard to beat. And on Saturday, the late kickoff is a derby, Bologna-Sassuolo, with Bologna 8th in the standings, but still close to the European spots, even to the Champions League spots. Now Thiago Motta then is being thrown to the mix of being a candidate for Barcelona's bench now that Xavi is leaving. Yeah, there are rumors linking Thiago Motta.
Why not?
Barcelona, why not? He's Deco's friend, for instance, in the Serie A, Danny, 4 winless games for Bologna, but the things are way worse. For Sassuolo, only 1 point away from relegation, 4 defeats in the last 5 games.
The performance against Milan was good from Bologna. They're actually winless in 5 in all competition, if you count the Coppa Italia. But, it was a very good display from Bologna, especially from Joshua Zirkzee. This is a real talent. he sometimes has been accused of being more nice to watch than useful. Well, actually, he's also useful. He scored already 8 goals this season. He creates chances. And when he's got the ball, he's never dull. He never does something, predictable. It's always a lot of flicks. Sometimes he nutmegs players. Sometimes he takes them on. But, yes, he takes risks, but it's very nice to watch. And of course, I understand why teams like Milan might want to sign him in the summer. He has grown up, he has matured a lot. But credit to Motta, who, by the way, was sent to the stand against Milan, was sent off after Milan were given the first penalty. Milan missed 2 penalties against Bologna. But credit to Motta for making attacking changes at the end. He never makes defensive changes, so he put Orsolini at the end, and Bologna got a penalty. They deserve to equalize. Of course, they've been conceding a little bit more lately. They've been playing a little bit more on the front foot, taking a little bit more risk. Only 2 clean sheets in the last 7. This used to be Italy third best defense, not anymore, but they are unbeaten at home in 10 games. They only lost to Milan in Matchday 1, and they build a habit of getting good results against big teams, against small teams. They almost they don't leave many chances to the opposition when they play at the Dallara. And I think this is a good opportunity for them to win, go back to winning ways. Sassuolo, they will be probably without Berardi, their main man, their talisman, the top goal scorer. And when Berardi is not there, they look very, very tame. 5 defeats in the last 6, only 1 clean sheet so far in Serie A. No shots on target in the second half against Monza when they had to get back into the game. Conceded 13 in the last 6 away matches. They will play open, they will play in the attack, they will go there and try to win. But I think ultimately is Bologna is going to win, which pays really well. 182. They are 6th in the table against a team that is in the bottom 5. Yes, I think you should take it all the way. Bologna to win, perhaps an over 2.5 goals. But yes, I stay with the home side to get the 3 points.
Okay, on Sunday we have 4 games. Torino Salernitana is the first one. Torino comfortable in the middle of the standings. Even if they win here, they could have a chance to fight for European spots after the victory against Cagliari with Zapata scoring. It's only 1 defeat in the last 8 for Salernitana. Danny, again, 2-1 defeat.
Yes.
This time they didn't take the lead against Roma.
Yeah, they lost the last 4 games 2-1. So you can call Salerno 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, and someone will pick up the phone the other way. But I think they were unlucky against Roma. They had chances at least to equalize, but again, they gave away a silly penalty. This time is Maggiore with a handball, and we've seen it time and time again against Napoli, against Juventus. I mean, yeah, they do look decent, but they shoot themselves on the feet with those silly mistakes. But they always scored in the last 9 games, Salernitana. So that tells you the team is still alive. There are still a lot of changes, players coming and going. They're even talking about Jerome Boateng, who might sign for them. But at some point, the fire that kept them up 2 years ago with Davide Nicola and with Sabatini as sporting director needs to be reignited. I can't quite see the spirit yet. And this is a tough game for them, only because Torino are only 5 points away from the 4th place, only lost 1 of the last 8. And at home, they are very good. They only lost to Inter this season, 3-0, which was a very big scoreline. The game was much tighter than what the scoreline suggests. They're in form. Zapata scored his 5th goal for Torino at the weekend. Since December, 4 goals and 2 assists for the Colombian. Only Vlahovic has done better in Serie A with 7 contributions. They look very fit. They got the 1st best defense in Serie A, 10 clean sheets. They don't tend to score a lot of goals, especially when they travel. Only 7 out of 21 games have been over 2.5 goals for Torino, who have to deal with a couple of big players missing. Is Buongiorno, suspended. Alessandro Buongiorno, a defender, really good, plays for the national team, but also he's got a suspect shoulder injury, so he might be out for long. And also Schurz has been out for the season, so basically the 2 centre-backs out. Ricci, who scored against Cagliari, got an ankle injury, is a doubt. But Salernitana will gonna go there and try to get a point and fight. This is going to be an over 2.25 goals for me. I think there could be 3 goals in the game. Torino winning, possibly 2-1. As I said, Inzaghi could get the 5th 2-1 defeats in a row. Why not? But he pays well, 198. If there are only 2 goals in the game, you get half your stake back. So I think it's worth going for this.
Well, it's 1.5 Torino to win, the over you just mentioned. So put them together and you could have odds around 3, more or less. So a good idea to go for Torino win and perhaps an over. For the next one, Danny, Napoli, Verona drew with Lazio. Napoli, now they have Barcelona already in the rare window, a couple of weeks for that game in the Champions League. I don't know which team is worse right now.
Maybe Napoli might have a chance, you know.
Yeah, they might, but probably it's the poorest last 16 tie in the Champions League. And talking about poor teams, Danny, Napoli playing at home, they are 15th in the home standings, 4 defeats. Already Verona out of the relegation spots, but same points as Cagliari. We've been saying this a lot this season, but I mean, Napoli have to win at home. They must.
They have to win at home, of course, but you know, can they score enough goals? No goals in 7 out of the last 10 games. Only 3 wins in the last 9. They went to Rome, no shots on target, and they become a typical Walter Mazzarri side. The good, they are very compact. They only limited Lazio to 1 shot on target. In the Super Cup against Inter, they defended well even with 10 men. But the bad is that they don't produce enough. Now they play with a back 3, which becomes a back 5, with Mario Rui and Di Lorenzo both defending, on Pasquale Mazzocchi. Has to be said, they went to Roma without Osimhen, who's at the AFCON, without Kvaratskhelia, without Simeone, without Zambanghissa, so it's always going to be back. Var and Simeone are back for this one because they were suspended. Maybe we'll see Ngonge, who, by the way, was Verona top scorer up until 2 weeks ago, and now is bought by Napoli. So maybe we'll see Ngonge starting. And yes, it will be. I'm curious to see also Den Donker from the first minute. But you know, Napoli have missed a lot of big chances this season, and especially Kvaratskhelia has been. The players mean a lot of big chances. If you look at the expected goals difference, is the biggest negative expected goal difference. They should have scored 8 goals more, and that would put them 5 points ahead in the table, because they do create, but they lack the cool head. What can we say about Verona? Well, they are heroic because there's been a massive player turnover. 11 players have been sold, a couple have been brought. They only lost 4 of the last 10. The club is in turmoil. They need to have money. They need to make money. Otherwise, they're going to be bankrupt. But all this turnover has changed completely the style of play. For example, not only they miss Ngonge, who was a top goal scorer, but they also miss Juric, who was the tall guy, big figures that won all the headers and allowed them to play the ball long. Now they have to play more on the ground, but do they have the quality to do that? Well, it will depend on these new signings. Noslin, 10 goals in 4 years with Fortuna Sittard. Well, buona fortuna to you and Verona, if you can keep them up. And Tavsan, 25 goals in 4 seasons with Neck in the Dutch league. He's a Dutch under-21. Ruben Vinagre, former Wolves defender. You know, these are all big question mark how they're going to adapt to the Italian league, and quickly, because obviously the team needs to be saved. But, you know, they competed well recently. They only lost away by 1 goal to Roma, Inter, Fiorentina, Juve, and Milan. So there is a pattern there. They compete well. They often come second best. They're going to lose for me here. And I like the Asian handicap, Napoli -1, 175, 2-0, maybe a win 2-0 for Napoli. Yeah, I think it's likely.
I wouldn't put an euro on Napoli.
No.
At this point. Well, who knows? Osimhen might be back, no? Because Nigeria, they are playing on Friday against Angola. If they get knocked out, perhaps there is still time for...
It's unlikely because they need to reacclimatize. It's very difficult for African players when they come back from the AFCON to regain.
Unless you are Iñaki Williams. He came out from Spain and he knocked out Barcelona from the Copa with Athletic. But yeah, you are completely right. Danny, on Sunday we have 2 more games, the best games in this weekend. Atalanta Lazio is a very good warm-up For the Derby d'Italia, Atalanta in Champions League spots, fourth in the standings, 36 points. They are having a great round of fixtures, especially at home, 5 consecutive home games. Last one against Udinese with Scamacca scoring again, and Lazio, Danny, they were also coming from 4 consecutive wins before that draw against Napoli and before that game in the Super Cup, that defeat.
Atalanta is the most informed team in Serie A at the moment, and it often happens to Gasperini's side to really kick on during the winter. And they got 25 points at home after 11 games. That's the best point tally since 96-97, when Pippo Inzaghi scored 25 goals for them. But now they got the Catelere. It's not the same as Inzaghi, but it seems like a new player from the one we've seen at Milan. 7 goals, 7 assists so far. Atalanta have got a buyout clause. He's on loan. So if they pay 30 million to Milan, they got a really, really good players with them, probably at a bargain price. 10 goals contribution for the Catelere, 5 goals and 5 assists since December. Only Mbappé has done more in Europe top 5 leagues. So, yes, definitely carrying them through this difficult period with tough fixtures. And, at home they've been really, really good. They beat the beatable team comfortably. They kept 9 domestic clean sheets in all competition. They're really flying from all cylinders. And I think the best is yet to come. I mean, we're still waiting to see Touré playing a little bit more. He's been injured. Scamacca's getting back to his best form. Miranchuk is popping in with the goals. For this one, Kub Miners is probably a doubt, which is a shame because he's probably the best midfielder in Italy. When it comes to Lazio, not in a bad form at all. Unbeaten in 5 in Serie A. They got the 4th best defense, conceded 20, and their defensive number are getting better. They kept 9 clean sheets in the last 14 games in all competition. But why? Because they decided they didn't have the stamina, the leg, the cohesion, the energy to push the line too much and to press too high. So since that game against Feyenoord, which they won 1-0 in the Champions League, which changed the season, they decided to leave the ball to the opposition a little bit more, be a little bit less aggressive, and try to play on the counter-attack and make the most of the opposition mistake. In fact, they don't score many. They got the 12th attack of Serie A. They only score 1 goal more than Udinese. The reverse fixture finished 3-2 to Lazio, which is the only time Lazio won coming back from a disadvantaged position. I think it's going to be nothing like. I think it's going to be much more tighter, probably around 2.5 goals. I like Atalanta to take the lead, 175. They got much more firepower at the moment. So, yeah, that's my bet.
Well, Danny, the game of the games, Partita Scudetto, as I said at the beginning of the video, Juve, Inter on top of the table with 1 game in hand. If they win, it's almost game over for this Scudetto title race. In 2023, they played 4 games, 2 draws and 1 victory for each other. Juve kept surprising us with good results apart from that draw, or until the draw against Empoli. And we might find some similarities with the game they played in the Maradona last season when they were still fighting for the title and Napoli thrashed them. I think we all agree that Inter is the best team in Italy right now. Inter to win is 1.9 and could be good enough for me, to be honest.
I think for Juventus, having arrived at this time of the season only 1 point behind Inter, it's mission accomplished. That's what they needed to do. They knew from the beginning they couldn't match Inter quality, Inter depth in terms of squad. I mean, they won in Florence without Çalhanoğlu and Barella, both suspended, and Asllani and Frattesi had a very good game. But Juventus did what they had to do. Of course, it would have been better for them to beat Empoli, but they played down with 10 men. And I think that game against Empoli shows that deep down, Juventus issues have not been solved yet. Okay, if you look at the recent results, they score a lot of goals against the like of Frosinone, Salernitana, Sassuolo. But these are teams that are no match for Juventus, really. And a couple of those teams, they are relegation bound. And Juventus had a field day. I think the issue with Juve is that if you don't have a strong identity, a strong style of play, if you're not entirely comfortable playing in the opposition half, as soon as the first difficulties arrive, you're going to get unstuck. And that will happen against Empoli. I think even down with 10 men, they could have beat them. But after taking the lead, we saw a little bit the old Juve, retracting, allowing Empoli to come forward much more and more. And we saw the same issues in the game against Salernitana in the first half. Then Maggiore was sent off and Juve had the better of them against Lecce in the first half. So Juventus are still not 100% comfortable. But what they have, they've got a very strong mentality. They got a great self-belief, and they got a player that is in great form. Vlahovic, 6 goals in the last 4. Now, Vlahovic and Ildiz form a very good partnership. Ildiz gave them more balance. He contributes more to the attacking play, but also if you have to play a game of counter-attack in the second half and you can allow having somebody like Chiesa on the bench, I think he's a great resource. A little bit short maybe in attack Juve, as they've sold Milik to Atletico Madrid, but we know the strength is at the back and the return of Rabiot is important. What comes with Inter is that now they're fresh, they're rested. They're going to get back, of course, Barella and Çalhanoğlu. They won an ugly game in Firenze. I think that the draw would have been a fairer result. Fiorentina missed the penalty. But they were coming back from the trip in Saudi Arabia, which they won there with the Super Cup. It was always going to be tough. They are, again, a strong side. It's a side that is not fragile. It's a side that can know how to defend. They haven't conceded a single goal after 75 minutes in Serie A. And I think that tells you a lot. It tells you they can also work really hard when they need to. Now, of course, Inter, we know, starts strongly at home. They often score in the first half. Sometimes they often score in the first 15 minutes. Let's hope this is going to be an open game and not the repeat of the reverse fixture, which finished 1-1, when Inter had all the ball. They had more than 750 passes, but they seemed a little bit scared of suffering the counter-attack. Of course, there is a big question mark. The draw in the end is good for both. So the game might be a stalemate if it's a draw in the last 20 minutes. But let's hope there are goals in the first half, early goals, so the game is entertaining. If you look at the metrics of these two teams, it is true these are the two best defenses in Serie A. Inter only 10 goals conceded, Juventus 13, and also the two teams that kept the most clean sheets. But the underlying number says that they overachieved slightly in terms of clean sheets. In fact, especially Inter, I think they overachieve in terms of expected goals against, around 6 or 7. Obviously, Verona and Fiorentina missing 2 penalties in the last 3 games. Inter, you know, that counts. They would have deprived Inter of 4 games. I think it's above to score here. 208, I like. Inter gonna come out strong, probably score the first goals, but don't underestimate Juventus and the fighting spirit. 208, both teams to score for me.
Okay, let me know, guys, in the comments if you are backing Inter, if you back Juve. Juve to win is 4.75, but as I said, I really like Inter to win. And for Monday, Danny, we have the last game in this match day. Yes. Roma, Cagliari. Roma playing again on Monday. Back-to-back victories for Daniele De Rossi on the bench. Unimpressive, we have to say. Yeah. Against Verona and Salernitana, but still 2 wins. They have to win here because after this is Inter and Feyenoord in the Europa League. I'm already listening to rumors about Dybala not wanting to stay after Mourinho left the club. And on Cagliari, Danny, the important thing, I guess, is always when Claudio Ranieri comes back to the Olimpico.
Yeah, he's emotional. I mean, he's been back a few times already. Roman, born and bred, former Roma manager. So he's going to get a good reception from the Roma fans. But Roma is the win because, of course, these are a winnable game. He will make 3 wins in a row. Another Mr. 2-1, De Rossi, 2-1 against Verona, 2-1 against Al-Shabaab, friendly, 2-1 against Salernitana. To be fair, against Salernitana, they didn't deserve to win. Scored with the first shot on target in the second half. That was Dybala's penalty. Then Pellegrini doubled the lead. Again, they played with 4 attacking players, Lukaku, El Shaarawy, and the 2 goal scorers. Didn't produce much. So really, step backwards from what we've seen in the first 25 minutes against Verona. But they do have the quality up there, with players like Dybala, with Pellegrini. Something is going to happen all the time, especially against lower table side. The problem is going to be when they're going to face teams that are much more organized, like Feyenoord, like Inter. We'll see. They got a very good record at the Olimpico. They scored in the last 25 of games. Dybala, I think, scored 20 goals with the Roma shirt at the Olimpico. So the numbers are there to suggest Roma should win this game, but they might suffer as well, you know. So anything that is an Asian handicap plus 125 for Cagliari, it will be worth looking at it. But Cagliari are, alongside Frosinone, the worst team away from home, just 3 draws, no wins, second worst defense in Serie A, only kept 2 clean sheets all season, no away clean sheets. The 2 clean sheets were 0-0 against Empoli and Udinese, so everything suggests Roma at least will score 2 goals in this game. The thing is, Cagliari, they don't get thrashed away. They always concede a couple of goals. The only big defeat was a 3-0 defeat in Florence, and they have got the second highest percentage of both to score, 64% behind Frosinone. Can they score a goal against Roma? Maybe an old Mourinho-style 2-0 win for Roma. Cagliari, let's not forget, without the 2 of the 3 main goal scorer, Oristano, Shomudorov, and Luvumbu. I like the Asian handicap -1 for the home side. Roma Asian handicap -1, 184. If they win 1-0, you get your money back. Or 2-1, as De Rossi has got used to.
Okay, Roma to win, as simple as that, is 1.5. Danny, tell me your safe bet.
We go to Frosinone, and I think it's a gold fest here. Frosinone, Milan, over 2.5 goals, 171.
And the ACCA?
Threefold as always. Total odds, it's 885. Bologna, Asian handicap, -1. Frosinone, Milan, over 3 goals. Napoli, Asian handicap, -1.
Thank you, Danny. See you next week. Thanks, everyone. Arrivederci.
Ciao!